Hey guys! Welcome back to From Linnet to Besties. We're on episode 6 of season 2.
Yes.
Season 2, we are testing out new lavaliers because we're official now.
We are! It was either this, I couldn't find any of those actual like podcast mics that aren't super hella expensive.
Yeah, these aren't too bad.
Cheap to go. I mean, these weren't cheap either though, but.
Yeah. It's better and they're like not bulky like I have anything on. Hopefully it'll sound a lot better so the quality's
You can go wash the dishes and be on the podcast
at the same time. Yeah, that's what I want to do, is go and wash the dishes while I'm podcasting. I really hate my nails.
I'm sorry.
We got our nails done this past weekend and it just has not been.
This is the first time that I don't think we showed. No, this is the second time that we didn't show off our nails because we are low-key embarrassed. And I don't even want to show off my nails for the fact that like there's like bleeding, like scratch and cuts on the side of it, so it just looks horrendous.
Yeah, like it just she didn't even do my cuticles or anything, girl. Like my
really.
First of all, like my nail already looks like it's like 3 weeks grown out. Like she didn't even put it back all the way, and I just got my nails done like 3 days ago.
That's insane. Well, now we know.
No. So people always ask us to like show off our nails on Instagram and stuff. So if you follow us on Instagram and we did not, that's why.
Which is unfortunate because Megan has 2 glow-in-the-dark nails.
I do.
That she did not know were glow-in-the-dark until she was sleeping.
Yep, and then I sent them to Tiffany and I've been showing everybody. Took Bryce in the bathroom and I was like,
did you?
Yeah, he thought it was the coolest thing. Anyway, so we have a super busy week coming up. Oh my gosh, we were just going over our calendar and we're also trying to figure out taxes, which we've never done before, and that is just like,
yes,
that's gonna be a whole experience this year. No one tells you this stuff about being an influencer. It's just like
exactly. It seems so easy until you realize like oh, okay. But we weren't a real job then.
I know. Now we gotta do taxes and 30% of everything we make, and I can't. So speaking of not a real job, we put a poll up on Instagram for which I think I'm gonna start doing.
A poll?
Yeah, to see like what the people want to hear. We're gonna do both eventually, but like which one they want to hear first.
Yeah, we'll do both either way, but which one do you want to hear first? I think would be really cool to make have them be a part of the decision making.
Yes. So if you guys have listened to our podcast or follow us anywhere else, you know we're very open about our mental health. So we did that one, or we did stay-at-home mom versus working mom struggles. Today we are doing the stay-at-home mom versus working mom struggles, and we will touch on our mental health journey another time.
Yes.
So first, just to touch on, without going into it too far, which do you think, because we've done both. Just for some reference, I've been a stay-at-home mom. I was a stay-at-home mom for a little bit with Michael, and I've been a stay-at-home mom with Bryce since Bryce was 1. And I worked a lot, so I've been a working mom and a stay-at-home mom. And you've kind of just recently been like a stay-at-home mom.
I don't think I really had any like stay-at-home mom experience though, because I never got to just take care of the house and that's it. Like, you know, like a typical stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, because we were doing
Momsoftampa. I still either had to do Momsoftampa and I was still doing TRB Beauty, so I never actually fully got to be stay-at-home mom. And I feel like maybe that would be less stressful than what I'm doing now. But it's still stressful, but I can imagine
Yeah, so just to say, we've done both, especially me. I've definitely deep dove into both. Mm-hmm. So which one do you think is harder?
I think they both have their difficulties, because I know I've been from, you know, working in the corporate industry and being like coming home and being like, this is difficult to do, to like when I quit my job and was doing Momsoftampa, so I was able to stay home and I was like, this is still so it's difficult in different ways, if that makes any sense.
No,
like, nothing is easier where I'm like, oh my god, this is so much easier than the other thing. Like, neither of them allow you to sleep in like I thought you could. Like, neither allow you, give you more time or more freedom. So it was definitely like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation.
Exactly. There's definitely pros and cons from both. So let's start with stay-at-home mom, since it's first on the list. I do have notes down here, so if I'm looking down to kind of keep us on track, because we do have a tendency to just like go off.
Go off, yeah.
Point number 1, it is so hard to make friends when you're a stay-at-home mom.
I don't even know how you would do it. Like, co-workers are your friends. Yeah. So like to be staying at home, like you're around like human interaction you don't have.
Exactly.
And you don't realize how important it is until you don't have it.
Your kids are literally around you 24/7.
Yeah.
Like, at least when you go to work, like, you get that break throughout the day where you get to be around other adults. Like, when you're a stay-at-home mom, like, and you feel guilty, but your husband, like, as soon as he comes home, you're like, another adult! And then it's like, well, he just wants to relax, and he just, you know, whatever, but you don't have any friends.
Yeah.
I tried to, like, join, like, mom groups and stuff. I remember when I was married to Mike, being at Publix one time, and he was, like, going up to random women who had kids, being like, my wife has a kid, dude. My wife has a kid. You guys should exchange numbers. And I'm like, do not fucking do that. But that's how I met my roommate, Whitney.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's hysterical.
It was at a playground at Countryside Mall. And her and I ended up, we're still friends to this day. And I ended up, when Mike and I got divorced, moving in with her. And, but yeah, it is so hard to make friends. Like,
I can, and then you have to have that friends. Because, I mean, I've sat with Michael for a day or two, just him and I at home. And just having the conversations with him, I'm like, I just want to talk about anything else. Like, I'll talk about laundry. I don't care at this point. But if I have to listen to another, like, Fortnite or Mario reference, I'm going to lose my mind.
it is so lonely. And it's just, your kid, and another point, you lose your identity because, like, you literally just feel like a mom.
Well, yeah, you're called mommy, like, over 100 times a day.
Yeah, at least.
You're in the same four walls. You're doing the same thing basically every single day. Like, nothing new.
Nothing new. It's very Groundhog Day. I definitely went through feeling like I was just a mom.
Yeah.
And really, really, really lose myself. Even this year, I feel like I really went through that, and just, it's very depressing. I mean, it's amazing being able to stay home. I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm very lucky, you know, to be able to do that. But it is very lonely.
But losing, like, all your hobbies and interests because now you have to do everything, like, that's for the best for the child, or everything, like, the TV shows. And I walked in and I was like, what the hell are you watching? Like,
we're watching other kids play with toys because that's what Bryce likes.
You're not watching, like, shows that you used to enjoy and do the hobbies that you used to do, and just be, like, those days when you're just, like, in a rut and you're just home alone and want to do absolutely nothing. You kind of just can't if there's a child with you, because you have to suck it up and take care of them.
Even just little things like wearing makeup. I mean, you're not going anywhere, especially like during the pandemic. It's not like you were going out to the parks and going out to, you know, whatever. So you're literally just in the same clothes every single day. The things that you like, I mean, you could still do your makeup, but for me at least, I was like, why would I waste makeup? It's just expensive.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not gonna
put on $300 worth of makeup and you're just sitting at home.
Like, it's rough. It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
And, you know, you never feel like you're doing enough, because, you know, people look at you like, oh, well, you're not working, so it's not a real job. But yet you're taking care of all the groceries, all the chauffeuring for the kid, all the shopping, you know, not just food shopping, you know, like clothes shopping, house shopping, doing all the cleaning, all the appointments, literally everything.
Yeah. It's even harder, like, I know for me, like, when I do stuff around the house or, like, clean up around the house, like, it's one thing to dread it and it's like, finally it's done and over with, just to have, like, the spouses and kids come in to destroy it, and I'm like, I'm not doing this shit again. Like, I already, like, forced myself to do it and I didn't want to, and it's like, I would have been happy and content, like, doing it once and being done, but just to do it over and over is what, like, drove me insane, because I was like, I can't keep doing this. I don't like doing this. This is not fun. And, like, everyone says it's not fun, but it's like, but someone has to do it, so let me complain and say it's not fun, and I don't want to do it if I'm the one who has to do it.
But then you feel guilty because you're like, this is a house. Like, it's supposed to be lived in. Like, these people live here. Let them live. Let them play. But at the same time, it's like, I just
what happy medium? What's considered lived in, like, a hot mess, though, you know? And I'm like, you know what? I'm not inviting anyone over. Fuck this.
Exactly.
Keep it messy, and no one's gonna see this house, because I don't enjoy it.
I just, the people who say that it's not a real job,
I don't think they realize how stressful it is. I mean, I used to say growing up, I never wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, just because, like, I enjoyed working, I enjoyed being out and about, and just to stay home and stay basically within four walls would drive me insane.
Yeah, it did drive me insane.
You don't get to go outside, you don't get to do anything. Like, I just would lose my mind doing that.
Been there. Yeah, no, I mean, definitely was super, the first time around, that's, you know, I was super duper depressed. I remember after having Bryce, super depressed because I was home all by myself all day with a baby, and, obviously, I loved being home with him, but it was just very, very, very lonely. And it's hard. And then, if you do complain about it, people are like, you get to stay home. Like, you're in a good position where you get to stay home. Like, I have to work. And it's like, I understand, but that doesn't mean it's any less, because it still has,
It's tough times. I actually saw a thing on Facebook the other day, which is like these moms that started saying it. I was like, go you! They were basically saying, just because I'm a stay-at-home mom doesn't mean I'm doing everything for the house. If you live in here, you're going to do stuff too.
Oh, for sure.
Like the spouses. Because there were some women and men that were saying, like, the husbands only have to work, so the women have to do everything at home. And I'm like, hell no. Like, yeah, she could do majority of the things, but no, like, if you're in the house too, you're cleaning laundry, you're cleaning something. You're not just gonna come from work and be like, it's been a long day. Like, you get to end your job, and a stay-at-home mom doesn't get to end their job, so you think she's gonna do everything for you the whole entire time?
Oh, yeah.
Fuck that.
That's one thing with being a stay-at-home mom, is you don't get a break.
Yeah, 24/7.
It's literally, you wake up in the morning when your kids wake up, and you're working until they go to bed. That's 14, 15-hour days, 7 days a week. Yep. Not, you go to work for 5 days and then you get 2 days off, plus, vacations and, holidays and stuff. It's literally 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I will say, there are definitely things around the house that I do not do. I don't take out the garbage.
Neither do I.
That's what my husband does, and that's one of Michael's chores. And I don't have anything against it. If the garbage is overflowing, I'll take it out. Don't look at my garbage right now. I do the laundry. I wash, dry, and fold them, but I don't put the kids' clothes away, and I don't put my husband's clothes away. Travis' clothes will sit in a basket for weeks, and I will not put it away. I'm sorry, but, like, I do 90% of the work. Like, some things I just don't do. Like, because like you said, like, you live in this house too, and I'm not your maid.
Yep.
I am a stay-at-home mom. I keep the house together. I'm a homemaker, but I'm not your maid, and I'm definitely not going to be, doing everything. Just like you don't have to do everything at your job. You have coworkers. Yeah. Y'all are my coworkers.
You have 2 15-minute breaks that you're required to take, and a lunch. Like, you don't get that when you're at home, because even going to the bathroom trying to secretly be on your phone, there's kids yelling and screaming, or they're too quiet, then you have to hurry up and do what you got to do to get out.
And God forbid you have a cat. I went to pee yesterday. I was just telling Tiffany, and my cat legit jumped on my lap while I was peeing.
I love that for you. He really wanted some close-knit bonding. You should have used him to clean up while you're here.
I wish I would have taken a picture. Yeah, so another thing I really struggled with too, and still struggle with to this day, even though we're doing Moms of Tampa and we're finally making money and everything, is just feeling like I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
Even though, I'm doing all the things and bringing in money, I think actually this year alone is the first time where I actually feel like I'm contributing. Once I actually saw the money from social media coming in.
Yeah, like now that it's actually more legit than it was before.
Yeah, because even though I was doing everything and being the one to wake up and take the kids to school and, go to all the doctor's appointments and go to all the events and, do this at school and go school shopping and, like, literally everything I was doing, all the meal planning and everything that goes into being a stay-at-home mom, because I wasn't physically coming home with a paycheck, I just did not feel like I was doing enough. And it's funny because most days I was doing more than Travis, who was actually working. Like, he'd come home and be like, yeah, I literally just sat in the break room for like an hour and a half and did all this. And yeah, I don't know. Something I still struggle with, and thank God, he's so supportive and told me that, it's not about the paycheck. When I first quit my job, I nannied to bring in extra money. And it wasn't necessarily that we needed extra money. It was just more so to make me feel like I was doing something, like I was contributing, and I was nannying. And then it got to the point where I was like, it's still never enough. Yeah. So I was nannying up to 5 families at a time, which is part of the reason why I got the SUV that I did. Remember, I used to have cars.
You did.
And I got that card because it was bigger to hold more kids.
God damn. How many? So if you did 5 families, were you doing them all? Like, was it 5 kids all at once?
At one point, there was 1 day a week where I had all 5 of them. But it would normally be like, there was one girl I had, you know, the majority of the time. I had her for like 9 hours a day, morning, 5 days a week. And there was another girl I had for half a day, like 2 days a week. Some kids I would have like every other week. Just a mixture. Oh, hi, honey. Come here, fat boy. Some kids I had, you know, once or twice a week, just randomly, like whenever they needed me to like go run, so they could go like run their groceries or whatever. But yeah, some kids I did have, and it was very overwhelming. Plus a new baby of my own.
Yeah.
And then Michael every now and then, and yeah, that was a very stressful time in my life. But I nannied up until, so up until the pandemic, like right before COVID. Because I was still nannying at our Clearwater house.
Oh, really?
I was nannying 2 kids at our Clearwater house. And then I couldn't anymore because of COVID. And then after that, Travis was just like, you don't have to do it anymore.
No, yeah.
So, but yeah, it's definitely mentally and emotionally exhausting being a stay-at-home mom. And it is hard work. So if you're ever feeling like you're not doing enough, you are. As long as your babies are happy and healthy, you're doing great. You know, you don't need a physical paycheck, but I tell you what, that money you find in the dryer is yours. That is your tip. That is your tip for the day.
Any money found in the house is yours.
Yes, ma'am. Yep. Period.
That is too funny.
So, how do you feel since being a stay-at-home mom?
I don't know. I feel like it's still...
Feel overwhelmed?
I don't think I feel overwhelmed just because the type of job that I had, like nothing will ever compare to that type of stress. I think sometimes I do miss the whole corporate world because I feel like I enjoyed getting ready to go to work and like driving to go to work, and you like get to see outside, and obviously I drove more than 15 minutes to get to work, and I had coworkers, so I was constantly talking to someone about gossiping. And I was lucky enough in the jobs that I had that it didn't feel like work with the people that I hung out with. So I had like a family over there and got distracted, like a home away from home type of thing. And not having that anymore, it's still like, it's like, damn, I wish I had like a bunch of coworkers. Because like, you know, sometimes you want to gossip every now and then, or hear their tea and hear their weekend. Like, I can't ask you what your weekend is because it's either we did the same shit or you were home. So it's like, I don't hear any new hot tea.
Yeah.
So it's like, damn. There's nothing new going on in anyone's life.
Is there anything that like you had a vision of how it was going to be and it ended up being different, or?
I definitely felt like I would have had a more stable schedule by now. Because I'm so used to like I have the schedule of work at what time you have to be and what you have to do and whatnot. And I told myself, I was like, as soon as I quit my job, like I'm going to create a schedule. I'm going to create a little work office area, and that's where I'm going to go. Like the same way as if I was going to work, but I'm going to go to this area and do whatever I need to do. And I really haven't done that yet. So that's is something that I would love to implement, and I thought was going to happen a lot quicker.
I can help you out there. I'll start calling you and be like, Tiffany, you're supposed to be at work 10 minutes ago.
I just really enjoyed having that, and I'm the type of person that like needs that type of schedule, because if not, I definitely take advantage of not having a schedule.
She does.
So it's very, very difficult, because there are times I'll be laying in bed and I'm like, I really don't have to do anything today, and I'm like, you have to tell yourself that to me, because you know you're not going to do anything, and like there's no one to really besides you, but I can ignore your phone calls.
I love that.
To really like force me to get out of bed. So it's just my own personal struggles.
Well, yeah, and you have every other week where you don't have a kid.
Yeah, and I think definitely in those moments where like you know, when you have those days where you don't want to do absolutely anything, I feel like it's a lot easier for me to like dig myself in that hole now, because I'm like, if we don't have Michael, then I don't have to force myself to get up, and if I don't have to go to a physical job, I'm like, nothing is forcing me to be productive today, then I'm gonna do absolutely nothing. And like that's the harder part, because I know I can get in that slump and it's so much harder to get out of it. So I try to like pretend there's like things I need to do, or create like little schedules. I have schedules all around the fucking house.
I've seen them.
Have I done any of them? No. But I even have a schedule to do my skincare in my bathroom, and I still don't stick to that son of a bitch.
I love that for you.
So I think that's the only hard part for me. But it's definitely now starting to feel like work compared to in the beginning, because now I'm just like, damn, we have to do this, we have, you know, a meeting this time, or we have an event to go to this time, so now it's feeling a little bit more like when I was working. Anyways.
And now with all these deals and stuff, and we have an agent who's holding us accountable for things, and you have me who gets stressed out very easily, and
like the calendar is filling up. Like before we barely had anything on the calendar, so we were kind of like flexible or everything. Now we're like, we can't do this on this day because we have this and then this that, and it's like wow, like we are really.
Yeah, you literally have to block yourself out if you want to make sure nothing gets scheduled on that day. Okay, so working. I was a working mom. I worked several jobs. Lucky for me, when I got pregnant with Bryce, my job let me take him to work with me, which I don't know if that was a good idea or not. They basically told me that they were like, well, how much time do you need for maternity leave? And me and my anxiety, I was like, oh my God, if I take too much time, they're gonna fire me. So I only took 2 weeks. And then I was like, but, really against putting Bryce in daycare.
2 weeks, like off completely, you mean?
Yeah, 2 weeks
Only
off.
2 weeks?
Yes.
I feel like the standard's like 6 or 9 weeks or something.
It is. I took 2 weeks.
Legally, you can take that amount of weeks. They wouldn't have done anything.
I know, but I was scared.
Oh, God.
And I needed to make money. I wasn't going to get paid out for it either. So I needed to make money. So I took 2 weeks, just enough for my body to heal. And then I took Bryce to work with me every single day. We would get up, 5 o'clock in the morning. I would, he'd be up all night screaming and crying because, he was a newborn baby.
Yeah.
I was so sleep deprived on the days where I would take Michael to school. Like, my schedule was just, I don't even know how I survived. Get home at 5 o'clock, pick Michael up, get home. And then, of course, you still have to do the grocery shopping and the dinner, and you still have to clean the house. And so I did that for a year, until Bryce was over a year old and he started walking. And then I just looked at my boss and I was crying to Travis every single day because I worked in a doctor's office doing orthodontic surgery and like oral surgery I did like surgery scheduling and like charts and stuff. So Bryce would go in there and just take all his charts out and like destroy them and like,
really?
Girl. And then I'd be on the phone with doctors and insurance. I worked a lot on the insurance side also. And he would just be talking and crying. And like, I'm like trying to like put him down and literally feeding him. Like I have Snapchat stories for days and just, it was so stressful. Like, at first, I was doing it all, like we had a 2-story office, so I was doing it all downstairs, like in front of all the patients and everything. But then it got to be so much that they put me up in my own separate office. And I was in a room where I could shut the door and work, but Bryce was just like crawling around and he was bored and he wanted attention and he was so hungry and he had like horrible reflux, so he was throwing up all over me and it was so much. And of course the upstairs where my office was also the break room. So when Bryce was finally asleep, people were up there like talking and heating up their food and he would wake up and it was awful. So after that, I talked to Travis and he was just like, just leave. We'll figure it out. And then I did. And then I was a stay-at-home mom. But talk about all the freaking guilt from I had never felt so guilty in my life than when I was working, because I felt like guilty for someone else raising my kid. Like I felt like, I don't know, like as a mother, like you should be raising your kid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your babies are only babies for so long. And that's why it was so important for me to stay home with both of the boys, because I was like, they're gonna be in school.
Yeah,
you know
eventually.
what I mean? They're gonna go to kindergarten and then they're gonna be in school until they're like 17, 18 years old, and they're gonna be gone for 7 to 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
You only have a few short years to be with them and experience them being babies and stuff. So it was really important to me to stay home if I could and just experience those days. Because I mean, look at Bryce now. I feel like Bryce just got here yesterday and he's already in freaking BBK. And I couldn't even put him in full-time BBK.
I know, it's part-time.
I was like, let me just have full-time. Yeah, and then come August, I mean, he's gonna be in school. And, people, they looked at me, certain people, and they were like, oh, you're so lucky that, you get to stay home with your kid and we struggled. Mike and I struggled horribly. Like I've never struggled before in my life when I was a stay-at-home mom, but it was important to both of us to not put the kids in daycare.
Yeah.
And then with Travis, I mean, I was nannying, like I said, up to 5 families. Travis was working the same job he's working now. He was working like 13 hours a day. Mm-hmm. And he was Ubering and lifting before and after work. Like he was hustling to make money. and he was building stuff and selling it. Like, I was selling shit in our house, like on Facebook Marketplace and stuff to like make ends meet. Like, we were, we made it work. We struggled a lot, but you know, we made it work. And I just did not want my kid growing up in daycare. And I don't look down on anyone who does, because I was a daycare kid. And I was also a mom, leave your kid at home while you work. And I was taking care of my little brother, like, you know, 5, 6 years old. I was 5 or 6 years old. My mom would leave me at home with my little brother while she went to work.
Really?
So
I was just thinking, I was like, was I a daycare kid? But my grandmother was there. That's who watched us and took care of us. Because I was like, I don't ever remember going to daycare, but I do remember, like, it was my grandmother picking us up and dropping us off. So we always had family watching us. Which basically, at least, even though my mom wasn't watching us, when she would come home, we were there. It's not like you would have to go and pick up the child, or you don't get to see the child. Like, we were home the whole entire time.
yeah.
And I think that's something I could never imagine putting a kid in daycare just after seeing like all the horror stories that are like,
Ma'am, don't even get me started.
I see it on the news. There's just so many bad things going on in daycares, and I could never, it's just changed my mindset. And I just feel like I get more and more protective as the year goes on with, first of all, the kids that I don't even have yet. And even like with Michael when he was going to the Busch Gardens field trip, that I was like,
I don't think he should go.
should we let him go? Like, I don't know. Yeah,
It was so funny when you said that. I was like, I didn't even say that. And you're like, are we sure he really needs to go? I don't know about him going on this field trip. Like,
not that he didn't deserve
such a freaking
to go.
mom. I can't with you.
Just like, it was the first time Michael wasn't around like any family, and I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know. And I didn't want to be like the mean one who said something or was like, Michael, no, you're not going. So I was like,
yeah, it was like the first field trip like none of us chaperoned for too.
I know.
That's so funny.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I got divorced, obviously I had to find a job because I was a stay-at-home mom before. My mom, I worked overnights, was the first, I needed to make a lot of money fast. So I worked overnights at the Hard Rock cocktailing, and my mom had Michael the majority of the time because I slept all day because I worked from 8 p.m. until 8 a.m.
Oh, look at that.
No, I lied. It was midnight. I had to be at work at like 11:30, so it was like midnight to 8 a.m.
Oh,
That's what my schedule
that's
was.
still late though.
Yes, I got off work at 8 o'clock in the morning. Sun was up. I had to go home and sleep, and then hopefully only sleep until like 3 o'clock or something. Get up, take care of Michael, go back to work. And I felt so bad because I never, and of course, you know, I only had Michael. You know, when I had Michael, you know, his dad had him a lot of the time too. So
Yeah.
I felt very, 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 very guilty. Even though I was working and, you know, like doing what you're supposed to do to provide for your family, I felt so bad not seeing him
Yeah.
all the time and having my mom basically raise him for those couple years while I got my life together, because I just didn't get to see him all the time.
Yeah.
It made me feel really, really, really bad. Yeah, so, and when you are working, you know, like I said, you just feel like you don't get to see your kids enough. Like, you're gone for 8, 9 hours a day. And granted, if they're older, they're in school and stuff, so.
Even that though, I remember when we would pick up, Mike was working somewhere in like downtown Tampa. I was working at the old job that I had before I quit, and then Michael was going to school in BFE in Tampa as well. By the time Mike got home with Michael and I got home, because I had a later shift with what I got screwed with, it was probably like 6 or 7 o'clock at night. We had one whole hour where we were all together making dinner, and then Michael had to go to bed, and then we were exhausted. So we all would spend Monday through Friday 1 hour a day with each other. And I was like, God damn, like this is just like the worst thing ever. But it was just like driving. A lot of driving took up our time. Having just such a me having such a late schedule, which I really didn't like and wish I could have, you know, changed it, but I couldn't. And then Michael having school so far away, it was just like I could not imagine like going for the rest of our lives doing that, like 5 hours a week essentially.
Yeah, I would wake up in the morning, because I lived in Clearwater, would wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, get Bryce ready, feed him. If I had to take Michael to school that day, you know, Michael would get up probably around like 5:30, 6 o'clock. No, he would get up at 5:30, and we'd get, you know, dressed, get ready for school, make sure homework was done, double check everything, leave the house by 6:30. I would go to work by 7, work. No, we would leave the house at 6, I'm sorry. I would go to work, clock in, work for about 45 minutes with both boys in the morning before the office even opened, got as much work as I could in the morning done, clocked out, go take Michael to school, come back with Bryce. So then I would clock back in from lunch, you know, got as much work as I could done while Bryce was sleeping, hope that he was still sleeping, And then I would work until 5 o'clock. And of course, Michael got out of school at 2:15.
Yeah.
So he was in after school, which I also felt guilty about. But we both needed after school because Mike needed it for work.
Yeah.
I needed it for work. I would go pick Michael up. And mind you, Michael's school was like 20 minutes from my job. So I'd leave. The reason why I would go to work early sometimes is because I would try to squeeze out before 5 o'clock, because traffic driving back over the bridge to get home from Clearwater was a nightmare. So I would go pick Michael up at like 5 o'clock, 5:30, and then if I had to stop at the store, that was a whole ordeal.
Yeah.
Drive an hour home. Girl, I wouldn't get home till 7 o'clock sometimes. And then you gotta cook dinner, clean up, homework, baths, whatever you could in that hour, and then put him to bed. Do it all again the next day.
Freaking sucked. I hated it. I hated every single part of it. It just, I don't know, it was so stressful, and it just felt like it wasn't worth it. I spent more time at work than I did at home. And I was like, for what? And then I hear like trying harder and harder to get like promotions and to get more advanced in my positions. For what? Like, the only accomplishments I was getting was at work. Nothing was benefiting me at home. Like, yeah, I got more money, but I wasn't spending it.
That's exactly how I was. I looked at everything and I was like, if we cut, we weren't going out to dinner. I wasn't buying new clothes. Like, we weren't buying the kids a bunch of toys. Like, we were cutting every single corner we could so that I could stay home and make it work, because like, to me, like, it was worth it living, less than, you know what I mean? I'm talking like no heat in the winter, bundle up with blankets type shit so our, bill was down. Like, we really, lived like that for a couple of years so that I could stay home, because again, I didn't want to be that mom who, and again, there's no hate towards people who can't do it. Because some people just physically can't.
I know, it's so difficult.
They're already living like that, like every single day.
And have 2 or 3 jobs, which is, I could never imagine seeing some of these women with like 3 jobs. It's like that's on another topic, but like the fact that society has created where you can't like provide for your family without 2 or 3 jobs is just insane.
That's a whole nother podcast. But really just like broke it down so that I could be with the kids, because seeing them for 1 hour a day just was not cutting it for me. And also, if I was gonna have the baby with me all day while I was at work trying to do my job, not to mention that they had me doing like 2 other jobs because someone quit and they were trying to change me for another position while I was, I was literally crying every single day. Like, it was damn mess. But anyway, they do not give working moms enough credit.
Agreed.
Because again, you still have to run a full household and work for 8 or 9 hours on top of it.
And be like, most of the time I was exhausted. And exhausted to the point where like the smallest inconvenience, like I'd be driving to work crying, like bawling my eyes out, because I'm like, I always wanted this family life growing up, and I was excited to be a wife and have kids and just have like that ultimate family dream. And I'd be like crying to work, like, I don't want any of this, because I was just tired, like exhausted to the point where like I was ready to run away and go somewhere else, because I'm like, this is not what I thought like growing up and having your own family was gonna be like.
I cannot imagine how it was like. During the pandemic, like I said, I was already a stay-at-home mom, so I cannot imagine how it was for these moms who had to do their full-time job with their kids, like running around in the background. Or the jobs who were like, come back to work, but yet you couldn't take your kids to school or daycare, and it's like, what do you want me to do? I have kids.
That was a struggle. Girl, there was times where I was doing meetings with like the higher people at my job. I keep almost saying my job by accident. And I like go to like get a pencil or paper because I forget it, and Michael just would sit in my seat and he would stare and go, and I'm like, oh my goodness, get off, right? And then I'm trying to like quietly say like, get the fuck off, because it's on the microphone. So I'm like in a corner, and he's just looking at me like, and like just staying. I could have killed him, I swear to God.
I remember there was a couple times where I would go over to your house and you'd be like, okay, I have a meeting, Michael. And then I would be over there because we were still doing Moms at Tampa while she was working, and I would go over there so we could film content and stuff. Quiet. We all had to be quiet. And then like Bryce, when they were like screaming in the bedroom, and I'm looking at them and I'm like,
it was so
a whole
difficult.
mess. Oh my God.
And it sucked because we put this topic somewhere on here. Pretending like you have to pretend to not be a mom when you're working, or you're in a, like, for example, like a corporate job. they wanted absolute silence. And like they knew that I had Michael with me, and it's very difficult, especially when he was doing school across from me, because he can't do schoolwork anywhere else because he would get distracted and start playing. So I had to watch him, and if he needed to like answer one of his classroom questions, my job's like, he needs to be quiet, but it's like, I can't shut him up, and they just want you to pretend like stuff the kid in the closet and do your full 8 hours with no interruptions. But it's like, if I have to be home with him, I can't pretend he doesn't exist. Like, he's still there. Mike at the time was still able to do his job because it didn't matter with COVID. So it was like, what do you want me to do? And then I was taking so many breaks, and they're like, you're only allotted 2 breaks, but it's like, what do you want me to do? He needs to be fed because he's here, he's hungry. If I don't feed him before my 1 o'clock meeting, he's gonna walk in the meeting and say it because he doesn't know that I'm in a freaking Zoom call where like I can't mute it, and he's not gonna know to be quiet.
Well, and when he was in school too, like they gave him like a specific lunchtime, and if it didn't line up with your job, and that's a whole thing too, is like
they don't accommodate for that.
A lot, even before COVID, like they need to understand, and not being mom friendly, like, we're mothers. Like, if our kids get sick, like, you need to understand that, like, either I'm bringing the kid with me throwing up, or don't give me have some sort of something that, like, it's a sick day, but not for you. You know what I mean? Like, if I have to take a sick day because my kid is sick. You know what I mean?
People, the jobs will think that we're lying. And, like, when I say, like, they're not mom friendly, it's like, yes, I'm your worker, but if I'm also a mom, like, I can't just give up this title, like, oh, my kid is sick, but I don't have enough sick days left over, and they're like, well, you can't take off. It's like, I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I can technically leave the job right now. I can't just leave my kid not feeling good.
And so the daycare is not going to take him because they have 102 fever and he's throwing up. I cannot just drop him off somewhere. My mother works like everyone else works.
Well, just like when Michael was in school and he didn't have a daycare, like I never had a backup daycare plan. So if Michael was sick, I'd have to take him home. They're like, we'll figure out other accommodations. I'm like, the only accommodation I have was to leave work. Like, you guys can wait. And I used to offer all the time. I'm like, I can take my computer with me home and I can work as soon as I get home. But they're like, no, you can't do that. And it's like, what do you want me to do? And I feel like just they would get so upset about it. And it was always like the women, because the men, I would see the men, like they would call the wives and the wives would take care of it. And it's like, why do I have to like figure this out and go through that? And like, but you know, Joe Schmo over here gets to do whatever he wants because it's not his problem, but you're mad at me.
Yep.
Like, and I do better work. I mean, this is its own besides the point, but I do better work than like Joe Schmo over here. But you're gonna commend him because he could figure out the plans and I can't.
But you don't take care of your sick kid, and you do leave him at a daycare because you do have to work. You're a shitty mom.
It was ridiculous, and it was ironic though. Most of the people, at least in my corporate job, anyone who had higher up positions were single, never married, and no kids, and expected everyone else to do the same exact thing. And it's like, I'm not in that position. I'm not single. I was married, and like we did have a child. So it's like, I can't do exactly what you do. You're working till midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning because you have nothing better to do. I have to cook dinner. Like, I have to feed the kid, and like if we promise like a movie night or something, then I definitely have to stop what I'm doing and go do what I promise. It's like, it's not fair, and it used to drive me insane.
Baths, homework, school projects, like all kinds of stuff. Like, it's not just, oh, I just get to work and then come home and relax. Like, you have to clean the house, you have to do the laundry, you have to, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so much. Like, they just do not give. Then, like I said, you're damned if you do or you're damned if you don't. If you're not working, then you're not doing enough. You're not bringing home a paycheck. You're not doing this. But then they want to get upset with you because your house looks like shit, or you know, like you're not spending enough time with your kids or whatever because you're not a stay-at-home mom. And it's like, well, which one do you want? Like, I can't do it all. And if you can, congratulations. Must be nice to be God's favorite. It's not me. I could not do it all.
I had one time at one of my jobs that Michael was sick, and he was sick at our house. So like, I think I was the one who was supposed to take Michael to school, and as I was like getting ready to get him dressed or whatnot, I was like, he feels warm, and I was like, damn. And I think I called Mike, and he's like, check the temp, and he's like, he's too hot, he can't go to school. And I was like, okay, I'll just call my job, and they're like, you can't clock out. And I was like, okay. So then I brought him with me. Tell me the like speech and a half that I got, because I brought Michael with me and I put him in like an office that like no one else ever goes to. So I was like, he can just lay there and go to sleep or whatnot. They're like, you can't do that. Like you said, I couldn't take off. They're like, yeah, but you can't bring him either. And I was like, I did. I brought him there, and I was like, unless you want me to leave. And they're like, you can't leave. Like, we had this and this that we had to do. So Michael had to stay there the whole entire time. But the people that were looking at me when they would see Michael and then they would see me in the corner,
like, what do they want from you? Like, you're finding a solution to a problem. they're still getting what they want. I don't know, but girl, if I had $1 for every single time like the school would call me and they'd be like, Michael's sick, come pick him up. Thank God my job, I mean, obviously was very lenient because they literally let me bring Bryce to work, which again was a blessing and also not, because it was the most stressful time of my entire life. But yeah, there were times where I literally would have to take Michael, who had a fever, or when he got that tooth pulled, remember? I had to, and he was all picked up on the laughing gas and the other stuff that they had him on so they could pull that tooth. Had to bring him to work with me, and I'd just bring a blanket and he'd lay on my office floor.
That's what I did. I put him right in the office, and I made sure like it was office that no one would use so that they wouldn't have to say anything about it. Got him his snacks and everything, whatnot. Was in distance where I could see him all the time, and I was like, this is the best that I can come up with. So I was like, I don't know what you guys like, want me to do. Like, he's not even around anyone, but I said, I was like, and I called to say that I was calling out, and you were the ones who told me no, that I could not. And like the type of no that they tell you that you're like, if I fight this, like I may not have my job. So I was like, what else was I supposed to do? Mind you, this is 8 o'clock in the morning trying to make a decision. It's not like I'm gonna wake up every person that I can and be like, hey, can anyone take care of Michael?
Yeah. And
it started my bad mood with certain people, but I was done. I was over it.
It's definitely hard. I think just being a mom in general is, you don't get enough credit for it.
Yeah, and like you said, being a full-time working, so you're working an 8-hour most of the time shift, to come home and then work as a mom, to, you know, when the kid goes to sleep, then you have to like go and play wife, and then it's just
yeah, and then being a wife on top of it, and your husband's like, hey, Ben, I'm like, get the fuck off me!
Yeah, like you wonder why you have an attitude, like you're doing 3 different jobs, and it gets like
it's not just
exhausting.
3. You're a chef also, don't forget that. You know, you're a maid doing the laundry, and you're, you know, it's just,
I used to
so many hats,
purposely not make eye contact in bed. I'm just like, if I just turn
I
this
know.
whole entire
my
way.
God, same. Like
or just like go to bed with a resting bitch face.
Yeah.
Hope to God they think you're mad as hell.
Or I'd be like, I have gas. Just so you know.
I'm on my period, but you've been on your period for like 6 weeks.
Exactly.
It's the longest period I've ever had.
Exactly. Like, oh my God. Like that was it's just I can't. Definitely from seeing it from both sides. I think that, you know, the guilt and the just overwhelming feeling is definitely the worst when it comes to working, and then just the lonely, never feeling like you're good enough when you're a stay-at-home mom. They both go, you know, it's pick your poison. They're both equally awful.
I don't know why it has. Hold on, I'm gonna try to pull the camera real quick because it's making a thingy. Oh, it's getting hot. I love that for us.
I love that.
Our camera gets hot when we talk too much, so.
It must be our hot air coming out of our breath.
I love that. But yeah, so that was our thoughts on working mom, stay-at-home mom. We know people have so many different viewpoints and struggles. But at the end of the day, I think everyone is trying their best, and that's all that matters. I mean, there's no way to do it perfectly. Unfortunately, we're not in a society where we can find like an ideal situation.
Do you see like the stuff that goes on like in other countries? Doesn't it just like piss you off when you hear that it's like mandatory, like a year off when you have a baby? And I'm just like, are you
so
fucking
lucky?
kidding?
Yeah, like they really do try to like help you make the best situation. And then we have it over here where moms are having 3 or 4 jobs just to provide for their kids. It's like, this is some BS.
You're terrified to take time off of work. Like I was. I took 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 fucking weeks, and then I was back at work with my newborn baby.
That's insane.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. I feel for every single mama, and I hope things can get better in the future, or some sort of like help or support or something in the future, because this is just overwhelming at times. So
just show some grace to every mom, working, not working, you know.
Yeah.
We're all in this together. We love you. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will hear you. Not hear you. See you. You'll hear us.
You'll hear us
you in the next one.
Bye, guys.